Welcome back to Beyond the Design, the podcast where we uncover the stories and philosophies behind the world's most influential architects and designers. I'm your host, Craig Beaumont-Flynn, and today we're heading west to explore a legacy of design that is as rugged and rooted as the landscape it draws from. Joining me is Logan Leachman, a principal at the iconic architectural firm JLF and Associates, a practice synonymous with craftsmanship, honesty in materials, and the spirit of the American West. Known for pioneering the use of reclaimed materials long before it became a trend. Well, welcome to the show, Logan. It's a pleasure to have you on today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, we're just going to roll right into it. JLF has such a powerful origin story rooted in the West, built on craft and sustained through deep client relationships. How did your journey intersect with JLF and Associates, and what made you want to carry that torch forward and be a part of it and its legacy?
Great question. So in 1992, I moved to Jackson, Wyoming, and JLF, most of our work, probably about 70% of our work is in Jackson, Wyoming. And at that time, it was almost 100% of the work. And I was looking for a job as a new budding architect in the profession and reached out to Jonathan and one of our founding partners, Paul Bertelli, and joined the firm after touring the work and recognizing that, it was much more in depth than, getting stuck doing hospitals and banks and commercial projects that I had been working on previously. Right. And it really resonated for me. And I moved up to Montana and Livingston and joined the firm there, continued working with Jonathan until his retirement for health reasons in 2000, where Paul, myself, and two others, which have since retired, were offered the opportunity to purchase the firm from him and grow the business.
Well, being in Jackson is not a bad place to get stuck. I went there for the first time last summer, so I fell in love with the environment in Montana and Jackson and that whole area, the moment I stepped into the town. So it's a great place to be. You and your fellow partners work closely with Jonathan Foote. What were some of the core philosophies or lessons from him that still guide the practice today?
Well, because so much of the work has been rooted in the West. And if you really look back into the history of, kind of these early Western structures, log structures, and smaller stone structures, they were all very human scale. If you thought about the equipment they had to build those early homestead cabins, right. They needed to be at a size where, people or horses could move equipment around or materials around. And those principles have kind of guided us along the way. And couple that with the fact that in all these years of working in Jackson, Wyoming, they have a size limitation on all the developable area for each structure. So it's really forced us to meet clients' needs of what, might be in their program for a second home that they want to share with their family and friends and fill with a lot of people. So we have to really restrain ourselves in making sure that we're allowing enough space to meet their programmatic needs, keeping it human scaled, and using space very efficiently.
I mean, the projects and completion of projects and the type of work you do is just phenomenal. And from reclaimed timber to regional stone, JLF was early in advocating for honest, sustainable materials. How do you interpret honesty in materials in a modern design context?
Not much different than the early ways that we've always used materials in their true form. And whether it's using concrete, exposed concrete, steel, or glass, it's, being sensitive to if we're going to use steel in a way that's either exposed structurally or added as decorative elements in place of timbers, making sure that, those elements are of the correct scale and proportion for their perceived intended job or purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And also working through the detailing of that material so that we're almost bringing a lot of those early log and timber details into the contemporary elements and being very rigorous for offsets and reveals and making sure that when materials join together, they're doing it in such a way that you would expect one material to support another.
Do you have any clients or projects where they've been programmed and directed from the client saying they want this material, and when they say, well, this is what we want, but it kind of distracts or is taken away, and it's not really what they want, and you have to guide them to the actual materiality that needs to be incorporated into the project?
It happens on almost every project.
Never fails.
We go through a fairly lengthy programming phase with our clients where we actually will, oftentimes we're building a second home or third home for our clients. So we will go to where they spend most of their time, stay with them for a couple of days, understand how they live, what a sense of home means to them. And it's a great way to understand what spaces are important to them when they say this space fits my family well, or this doesn't work for me. Having that firsthand experience and being able to wake up in the morning and go help yourself and make coffee in their kitchen is, invaluable in understanding how someone lives.
Absolutely.
Well, out of that, through the programming process, we share images of our work with them. We ask them to bring images of other work or historical elements that resonate for them. And then, as designers, it's our job then to start to filter that through and oftentimes come back to them with something completely unexpected, whether it's the form and shape or materials that are being used.
If JLF design philosophy were a piece of furniture, what would it be?
Well, that's a great question. And I would have to say it would be a table. Because I look at a table as something that is usually proportionally scaled to the space that it lives in. And it gathers people together to share a meal, share ideas, spend time alone being creative. It can have so many functions.
True. Yeah. It's the gathering place, I guess you could say, as well as your projects. It's a gathering place and brings the environment and tells a story. Most inspiring site you've ever worked on?
Well, there's been quite a few, but one that really comes to mind was a project, and we've been talking a lot about the West, but this project was actually in Tennessee, and a client came to us asking us to help them develop a smallish guest house on a 40-acre private lake. And really wanted to bring in the spirit of that lake and tie it to the landscape. And part of that building is actually in the water, and part of it then ties into the land. And that was very inspiring to bring the water into the site in that way.
Yeah, interesting. Favorite reclaimed material to work with, and one that always surprises you?
Well, I'm fortunate in that a lot of our work, we also get to go out and source material, whether we're looking for old barns to take down in the Midwest or oftentimes in Canada or throughout the West, although a lot of the log structures are getting harder and harder to find. I would have to say some of the favorite materials have to be what comes out of these old barns, whether it's thresher floor planks that have 100+ years of hay being stored on them, and the character and texture that you get out of that. And then always a favorite for me is stone.
Any type of stone, or?
Stone that's generally not quarried and cut new, but picked off the ground with natural weathering from the exposed face that's been out in the elements.
Mm-hmm. Gives a little bit more history and, I guess, roughness and essence instead of just clean stone that's been cut out of a quarry.
It does, and it allows allows the structures to really blend in and fit with the landscape as if they've been there for a very long time.
I love the fact that you guys use old barnwood because it does have a story to it. It has history. It has a place and time, and incorporating that into something new, into a new environment, gives an essence that new builds don't have. They don't have that connectivity to something that was prior to the present.
True. I think you touched on it in one of your earlier conversations that I feel like we were an early pioneer in the development of the use of old wood and reclaimed materials. It's become much more commonplace now, and that's really evident to me in the early days of doing this. You could drive out to an old ranch and find a rancher that wanted to take down a log structure or just wanted to burn it to get rid of it. And you would offer to take it down for them at no cost.
Right.
And now there's brokers that, it's a commodity.
It's more than gold. It's prime. And unfortunately, we're going to not have any 100-year-old barns at one point,
I know.
Then,
you cannot reproduce the patina and texture that those materials have endured for, years in the sun, the weather.
Well, JLF's mantra that is, this is a process, not a product, is such a beautiful encapsulation of your work. Can you walk us through what that looks like in practice from concept to completion?
Sure. As I touched on, we go with an in-depth programming phase where we really get to know our clients, understand what their vision is, what types of space they want, and how those spaces will relate to each other and relate to the landscape of their chosen piece of property. Oftentimes, we're asked to come in and help choose the property if there's multiple properties being considered for the various elements that they're trying to achieve. From that process, we follow, what some might say is a fairly traditional design process, where we start with bubbles and concept diagrams, where we're drawing to scale related to the site, bubbles that have each space relate to each other. And that is then 1, 2, or 3 options of potential layouts is then shared with the client. And that then frees us all up to freely move these bubbles around and have a design planning session interactive with the client before we really start going to more of a hardline development where we're doing the schematic design and adding fenestration and materials and defining actual rooms. So when we come back to the client with that presentation, which is often two-pronged now, we continue to do most of that work with hand drawing and hand renderings, because we feel as though with the materials that we're using, the hand drawings add a certain level of texture to that.
Very true.
And brings a realism to it that oftentimes renderings don't do. But
true. I think hand-drawn things give an essence of depth that I think computer-generated it kind of loses sometimes. And it's very old school. That's how I learned, and it's mind to hand to paper, and it has an essence of the creation process. I think a lot of clients are appreciating now.
Yeah, I agree with that. But a lot of clients are also expecting 3D models and renderings, so we do
pictures.
both.
Yeah. Well, you've spoken about the firm's deep relationship with contractors like on-site management. What is the integration of design and construction so critical to the final outcome?
So throughout the process that we use, we're at schematic design, we're bringing our design build partner into the process very early on. So they are hearing directly from the clients what's important to them, what elements they want to see in the project. And through our long-term relationship and many projects, we're able to bring cost recovery data forward so that as we're designing, we're also keeping up with a budget and a schedule, allowing, excuse me, clients to make decisions along the way without being surprised by an unexpected budget in the end. Because that's never a way to have a client be happy with you.
Yeah, exactly. You won't be called back if you do that. But that's fantastic.
And
well, how do you go ahead?
But in addition to that, having a design build partner like OSM or Big D Signature, they allow us to stay very involved throughout the construction process, and we're on site once or twice a week on all of our projects, no matter where they are, and working through details, listening to the subcontractors, allowing the entire team to have a voice throughout the project. Because we can bring wonderful ideas to the table, but it's the craftspeople that are putting those ideas in place. And oftentimes being open and listening to their input only makes your idea better.
Well, it's in the details and the work. So that's a great connection and extended arm of what you provide to your clients. How do you approach balancing the romance of the West with modern innovation, especially when clients want both heritage and contemporary expression?
Well, we balance it by keeping the scale of our buildings manageable. If the project scope is large enough that we need more space than what we would feel would be manageable for one pod, let's say, we break those buildings down into smaller elements. And then, as I touched on before, using the contemporary elements mixed with the reclaimed materials, and it's all in how those are detailed together.
You mentioned
a steel beam or a timber, they can't just look like they were added as an afterthought.
Right. Let's bring that in and throw it in, and it kind of just disrupts the whole, I think, integrity of it as well. You mentioned Big D. Your design build process has a 24-year relationship with Big D Signature, and it's a key part of your work. That is a substantial success story. Tell us more about it and how you made that relationship and process a success, and what it makes it so unique in what you provide to your clients.
Sure. So in 2001, we designed a house for Jack Livingood, who's the owner of Big D Construction. And at that time, Big D Construction, their primary focus was large commercial projects, everything from food processing plants to airports and that type of thing. And Jack came to us, loved the design that we could provide, and he asked if we minded if he built his own house. And we kind of looked at him a little bit sideways and said, well, you can try, but it's not the same as what you're doing. And at that time it was, well, it's just a house. How hard can it be?
Right.
And he really used that project as a think tank because he always loved residential architecture at a high level and really wanted to expand his company to do that. So he had very deep roots in design build in the Salt Lake City area. And we realized that our values aligned in so many ways in terms of transparency and open budgeting and those types of things. So we decided to form a partnership. He developed Big D Signature as a spin-off to Big D Corporation to do our work, and also then transferred into boutique hospitality work. And we've worked together ever since. One of the wonderful things that brought for us was because of their national reputation and size, it allowed us to move nationally with our work rather than just regionally.
So have you expanded beyond just the territorial of Montana and beyond?
We have.
As you've done that, where have you've seen the growth in JLF in the last couple of years?
Well, Wyoming still remains a primary market for us.
Mm-hmm.
The growth has been some work in California, New York, Tennessee, North Carolina. And really, it's not so much about the places we want to work, but finding the right clients
Mm-hmm.
that are looking for the level of design and integration that we offer.
Given the variety of those locations, and as you mentioned, you work closely with the clients and even going out and looking at various sites for our project, and JLF homes feel like they belong to the land. How do you begin understanding a site before you even start sketching a form, especially in various environments that are so different from, Tennessee, Wyoming, Montana to California and, the Northeast?
Sure. Well, we try and spend as much time as we can there before we start working.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to sites and camped there for 2 or 3 days. Understanding what the light does when the sun comes up. Where's the sun setting? You can look at it, on a solar chart and map it on a site plan, but there's no substitute for being there and
right.
witnessing the layering of light as
Mm-hmm.
throughout the day, and getting a feel for what happens when the wind blows. And so for I think all of the partners at JLF, we try and spend as much time as possible on the job sites before designing.
As you mentioned, these projects are more than just a project. They're legacy projects. These are homes that you want to last for generations and generations, especially the ones that have been photographed in the 2 books that you have, The Work of Art and Foundations. I mean, you have some incredible projects and homes that, are going to outlast my lifetime because they're so integral and they have such an integrity to them. What do you love most about working with legacy clients, those building homes to last generations, and how does that shape your approach?
Well, I think what I love most is that we get to tailor each project for exactly what that client's looking for. It's not about looking for what could have resale opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not make a bold decision because someone else might not like it.
Right.
It's let's make a bold decision because this is what I'm looking for my family now and in the future.
They're not flip homes.
They're not. I think I can count on one hand, maybe a little bit more of the probably more than 100 projects over the years. I think there's been maybe less than 10 that have sold.
Wow. That's fantastic. Is there one in particular that resonates with you emotionally and personally?
Yeah, there is. And it's a Wyoming project I did. And I think it resonates for me personally because of the scale of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not maxing out the square footage limit we could go for. And oftentimes what makes a project resonate for me more is the long-lasting relationship I have with the client in the end.
Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, some of these homes are second homes for some of your and repeat clients. Are there ones that you just continue to say, I want to do it again? I wanted to do it again because it just was such an integral part as a creator and an artist. I think a lot of architects are artists in their form.
Yeah, we do have quite a few clients that enjoy the art form, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a hobby for them. And whether it's going out and collecting antiques and elements for the house and then coming and saying, hey, I've got a warehouse full of stuff. It's time to do another project.
It's got to go. It's got to live somewhere.
Yeah. And it's changed a little bit over the years for us where in the past we had done these as purely like second homes, vacation homes,
Mm-hmm.
summer ranches for families. And more, we're finding a lot of clients are so comfortable in the designs and the houses that they want to live there full time. And what was previously their primary residence becomes a secondary residence.
Yeah. If you had to design a retreat for yourself what 3 must-have materials would be in it?
Stone would be high on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Steel elements are also high on my list. And a lot to offset that, natural wood. And I really am drawn to more of the hardwood species
Mm-hmm.
and getting the texture and feel right for my lifestyle, which is not leaving it in its pure rough format.
Jackson is such an inspirational place to be. What inspires and motivates you as being a creator?
Well, the easy answer there is the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes our clients ask for opinions or want us to weigh in on what art goes in the house. And a lot of times my comment is look out the window.
Right.
The art is there always.
The natural beauty and the art of that.
But I think one of the greatest rewards is seeing the clients use the project with their families, watching their kids or their grandkids grow up in the house,
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of enrichment it brings to their lives, and being a part of that, and creating something that brings someone so much joy and comfort is very rewarding.
Absolutely. This industry is ever evolving, and it's a lot easier for clients to look at Pinterest, online television shows that are focused on our industry, and I want this, I want this. What are clients asking for today that feels different from 10 or 15 years ago, and how has that shifted your design approach?
I feel like they're asking for smaller, more manageable spaces than they were 10 or 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's, coming out of COVID and causing us all to realize that maybe we didn't need so much stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and different things became important in life. But I see clients really asking for less, not more.
Interesting. How do you design spaces that invite reflection rather than overwhelm with drama?
I think that through the design process, it's understanding what the function of that space will be,
Mm-hmm.
coming up with the scale and proportion that we feel would fit the function, bring in the right amount of light, give a sense of calm, and then stepping back and looking at what can I now strip away from that to boil it down to its essence instead of adding more.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I think oftentimes as a designer, it's really easy to take the route of, well, to solve this problem, I should just add to this or add to that.
Right.
But stepping back and asking, what can I take away and still have this boiled down to its true essence?
Given the vast areas and growth of JLF, are there any sectors of the industry you want to work in or places you guys want to reach out to?
Well, I'd love the opportunity to work in Hawaii one day, because the site visits would be great.
Yeah.
We're really comfortable in the sectors we've been in, which is, of course, residential, some
Mm-hmm.
boutique hospitality work. And early in our careers with Jonathan, we did a lot of ranch work where we did equestrian facilities, working cattle ranch facilities, and also like ranch restorations of old time family compounds.
Mm-hmm.
And homestead buildings. And we've seen a resurgence of that in our work here over the past 5 years. And that is a very nice alternative or addition to creating places for people to live, to think about, what do horses need?
Right.
How do they live?
It's something, you probably wouldn't think about going to architectural school.
And it's more complicated than you would think.
I would imagine so. What do you think the next generation needs to know and actually understand from firms like JLF?
I think what we try and teach our next generation, and hopefully that's trickling down, and is just to listen, be sensitive to what clients are asking for. And I mean, that's a really good question. What do they need? Sensitivity to detail is high on our list. And sourcing, to continue source ethically sourced materials and use them honestly. I think our profession could benefit by continuing to use materials as they were intended to be used.
Good point. Do you find a lot of clients still have a learning curve to sustainability and materiality that's being used because of that?
Yes, they do have a learning curve, but most of the clients we work with understand it pretty well. And, it's up to us to bring forward to them the ideas of how reclaimed materials are sustainable.
Well, now that I have my props in hand, the work of art and foundations, two incredible books that you've printed and that are available. Any more in the works?
Yes, we're starting to think about book number 3.
Yeah.
It seems like about every 7 years we gather enough work to start thinking about a new book.
And that'd be a collection of all the work being produced now and with your partnerships?
Correct. A lot of the imagery and the work of art of the construction photos and things that are in process are completed projects in the Foundations book.
Yeah, these are beautiful books. Beautiful work. What's a project or site currently on your desk that's pushing your creativity or your philosophy in new directions?
I have a very complicated, multi-phased project right now that is definitely pushing me to the limit in terms of sourcing materials, complexity of design, while maintaining that series of smaller spaces and next level detailing.
And is this project in Montana or Jackson?
It's in Wyoming, and it's been in the works since about 2022, and we probably have a couple years left to go.
Oh, wow. So you haven't broken ground yet?
Oh, no, we've broken ground.
You've broken ground? Okay.
Not long ago.
And what are some other projects currently on the books for you guys that you're working on?
There's a ranch in western Montana. There's work in Big Sky, continued work in Wyoming, and we also are doing some work in the Northeast.
As you look at the next decade for JLF, what's your vision for evolving the brand while staying true to its roots?
We struggle with that a lot in how to keep evolving the design elements that we pull into projects. In the past, we've let that happen organically, where we went from very traditional log, post and beam, timber construction, and started bringing in elements of steel windows and glass and exposed steel and exposed concrete and those things. And we've just allowed clients to challenge us and drive us in those directions to continue to come up with something new. Because every one of these projects, the client has a very big role in the outcome of how they look.
Right.
Because of their desires. If we were designing and building spec houses, they wouldn't look or feel the same.
True.
we're constantly asking ourselves the question is, allowing clients to drive us in new directions, is that what we should be doing, or should we be driving ourselves in new directions?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a combination of both. But in the end, organically allowing it to happen, I think makes for a more honest adaptation of the work.
I was going to say that. Do you have clients that actually do bring you Pinterest images, or they want this, but you get to know them and it's like, that's not your lifestyle. That's not who you are. That's not your personality. That's not how you live. How do you direct them into the right direction?
Well, we do promote that. We promote clients bringing us those images or Pinterest pages. Mm-hmm. And I ask them for what they resonates with them mm-hmm. and what they don't like. Because it's just as valuable to know what
True.
They don't like as what
Absolutely.
They do like.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a big part of the creative process, is taking everything they like and don't like, along with their programmatic needs, and running that through the design filter and coming back with a direction that probably isn't just like the Pinterest page they sent you.
Right.
Well, it's definitely not like that.
The haircut won't fit your face type of thing,
Right.
If you could leave one message for those who live or visit a JLF home, what do you hope they will feel in that space?
A sense of calm, mm-hmm. peace, relaxation. I'm always amazed when I get the opportunity to go back and either spend the night or spend time in our projects, sitting in the room, either with the family buzzing around or just quietly, mm-hmm. At the sense of scale and the calm that brings.
What's next for JLF down the road? What else is happening? Another book number 3 and new projects? Anything else?
I think the next thing for us is really developing the next generation. We have a wonderful staff of people mm-hmm. working with us. These projects would not happen without them. And it's continuing to teach, mentor, and develop them into being the future of JLF. That is a primary goal of ours in the coming years, because none of us are getting any younger. And,
no.
Jonathan started with some wonderful principles, which we've all carried the torch on and mm-hmm. taken well beyond what he envisioned for the firm. And I would love nothing more than to see that happen with the next generation.
Is there any materiality that clients have said they want to incorporate that's such a departure to the materiality that I guess is part of the essence of JLF, that you've had to redirect them on that approach as well?
Well, the main one that comes to mind is when, for budget reasons, they want stone, but it doesn't fit the budget to use mm-hmm. full thickness natural stone, right. and want us to use a cultured stone material. We draw the line there and tell them, look, there's plenty of other options out there, but this isn't going to be one of them.
Right, right. Well, Logan, is there anything else you'd like to share with us and advice for our listeners?
I think overall the architecture profession is a wonderful art form that continues to evolve. And I think we cannot do it without the input of the people that hire us mm-hmm. and challenge us.
Well, Logan, this has been such a grounding and inspiring conversation, and thank you for sharing your thoughts and the history and knowledge of JLF, and deeply connected to place. Your work is spectacular, and much continued success to you and JLF.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It was wonderful to meet you.
We will chat soon. You take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
For listeners who haven't experienced JLF's work firsthand, I encourage you to explore their portfolio. It's a masterclass in building not just structures, but stories woven into the land itself. That's a wrap for today's episode of Beyond the Design. If this conversation resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow design lovers. Until next time, keep building with intention, honesty, and care.
Hi, you're listening to a Pod for Good Media Network podcast. We are a network that provides podcasting production services and a supportive community in which podcasters can thrive. If you're a podcaster local in the Tulsa area, we would love to have your show on the network. If you are interested in starting one, we would love to help you get started. Find us online at podforgoodmedia.com and fill out our Pod With Us form. Happy podcasting.